class. Next about India, natural disasters. Then what do you mean by natural disasters? What is the meaning of natural disasters and what is the importance or the nature of natural disasters? Let us learn about first the meaning of natural disasters. The natural hazards which create widespread destruction are known as natural disasters. So natural hazards means natural danger or the natural risk not created by man. So it is automatical in the nature, whatever variation in the nature that creates danger or risk. So that is the natural hazards which create widespread destruction. So everywhere destruction or every destruction in that particular area or related to that particular area. So that is called as a natural disaster. So what is natural disaster? The natural hazards which create widespread destruction known as natural disasters. Disasters may be natural or man-made. So here the disasters, that is two types. That is one is natural. So no one created, nature itself has created, and one more is man-made because of the man activities, because of the human beings involvement in some other activities that made the some disasters in the nature. So it may be natural or man-made. Natural disasters can be geological hazards related to the geological danger or the risk such as earthquakes. Second one, volcanoes, tsunamis, landslides and the avalanches. So what is earthquake, volcano, tsunami that you learned in your 8th standard? So earthquake, volcanoes and tsunamis. So and what is landslide that we learn in this class? That is falling down of the mass land. That is called as landslide. Sometimes you know that recently in place called Kodagu and in some other places of Dachina Kannada greatly experienced these landslides. And Kodagu, everyone know about what happened in Kodagu. So because of that, it will take away everything along with the landslides, whether it is a house or the people, whoever, everything will be taken away from this. So many people were missing because of this landslides that was occurred recently in Kodagu. And avalanches, then what do you mean by avalanches? Avalanches means that is a mass falling down of ice or the snow or the rocks, that is called as the avalanches. So these are called as the natural disasters. That is the natural disasters or the geological hazards. That is earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. No person can control this. So once it is started giving risk or dangerous, then continuously dangerous to that particular area, landslides as well as avalanches. The weather associated natural disasters are, so related to the weather. Here we can see some of the natural disasters. They are cyclones, drought, floods and epidemics. That is variation in the temperature or variation in the weather that leads some of the natural disasters or the natural problems like cyclones, drought, floods and epidemics. Most natural disasters are infrequent. So it is not frequent, it is infrequent and unpredictable. So cannot be controlled. It cannot be controlled, it is unpredictable. It is infrequent and unpredictable. However, a better knowledge about them, how can we protect ourselves from these natural disasters? Only one way is there, that is by getting better knowledge about them. Only will have to reduce the extent of damage. So weather department or earthquake, that is related to the earthquake or the landslides, first itself sometimes the experts will give the information. As that information we have to take seriously, immediately we have to change the place. Immediately if the people are shifted from other place, then we can protect at least the life of the people. That's why that is only one way, that is here most natural disasters. Here we have to concentrate as well as we have a better knowledge about them could be reduced. Otherwise it cannot. India is a vast country and has been facing various natural disasters. So what are the natural disasters faced by India? Like cyclones, floods, landslides, coastal erosion, earthquakes. These are common in India. The natural disasters which are common in India are cyclones, floods, landslides, coastal erosion, earthquakes, etc. So the first one is cyclones. So what is this cyclone? In a cyclone, the wind blows spirally. So it blows spirally inwards towards the center of low pressure area. So you might have seen in some places how it blows. What is the difference between normal air and this wind? So it always blows spirally and it creates disasters. They are very dangerous. This disaster is associated with the atmosphere. So there is a direct connection with the atmosphere, the weather. Related to the weather condition or the atmosphere. So we can we experience in some places cyclones. There are two types of cyclones, namely tropical cyclones and the temperate cyclones. This about cyclones also you learned once in 8th standard. So in detail again I won't explain here. So here there are two types. One is tropical cyclones and second one is temperate cyclones. So what is cyclones? The blowing of wind spirally. So the wind blows spirally inwards towards the center of the low pressure area. So that is called as a cyclone. And here cyclones always have two types, that is tropical cyclones and temperate cyclones. Based on the atmosphere, based on the temperature, based on the weather condition, it has divided into two types. That is, one is temperate, one more is tropical. Tropical cyclones are more common in India. So what type of cyclones are more common in India? That is tropical cyclones. There are two types, tropical and temperate. In that, tropical cyclones are common in India. Causes. Then what are the important causes for the cyclone? First one, that is the most ideal conditions for the origin and development of tropical cyclones are, first one, high temperature. So temperature is one itself is responsible or the cause for the cyclone. High temperature, then calm air, and third one, highly saturated air, moisturized air. So that is three are important reason. So let us see that is which are the important causes for these cyclones in India. First one, high temperature, next calm air, and third one is highly saturated air, that is what, moisturized air. So these three are not good for the atmosphere or not good for the nature. It creates problem in the form of cyclones. These conditions result in the development of low pressure. It will create the depression center or the low pressure center. So it leads to what? Cyclones. Already learned how the northwest monsoon blows and how it creates low pressure and finally it blows and gives heavy rainfall. At the same time, the same thing, cyclone also same thing here. Because of all these three conditions in the atmosphere, it creates low pressure area. As a result, the wind blows. Relative high pressure prevails around the low pressure. See, relatively high pressure that prevails around the low pressure area. As a result, here wind blows in a high pressure. So the winds blow spirally inwards the center of low pressure, causing cyclones. So remember, high pressure prevails around the low pressure. So whenever these three conditions occurs in the atmosphere, then there will be low pressure, that is in these low pressure areas. We can see there will be high pressure in low pressure area. As a result, what happens? Here the wind blows spirally. As a result, the wind blows spirally inwards the center of low pressure and that leads to the cyclones. Such conditions are found in tropical zone, especially over the seas. In tropical zone, it is more nearly, that is especially near to the seas. Effects. Tropical cyclones are very destructive to causes loss of light. We know that so many times whenever watching TV or reading newspaper, we come across all these news because of the cyclones. What happened? What are the results of the cyclones? Very next day or the same day we'll get information. One is loss of life and property. Not only the loss of life, along with that the loss of properties. Next, damage to the buildings. Almost the buildings will be damaged by cyclones. Next, transports and communication system. Damage the transport and communication system, power supply, destroy crops, vegetation, animals, etc. So everything is greatly affected by these cyclones. Not only the land but also the road and transport and communication, animals, man, human being, vegetation, crops. Each and everything is greatly affected by these cyclones. So here these cyclones are main, that is the main effects of these cyclones. Next, distribution. In India, most of the tropical cyclones develop in the Bay of Bengal. So you remember that even the whatever the monsoon also here affects from the north, here southwest. But related to the cyclone, in India most of the tropical cyclones develop in the Bay of Bengal region. Hence, the eastern coast is more prone to cyclones. Important question. Remember, here always cyclones that is blow, that is from the tropical cyclone area, that is from the Bay of Bengal region. As a result, eastern coast is considered as the most prone to cyclones. So, cyclones are very common in these areas, that is in the eastern coastal areas. That is very close to the Bay of Bengal. It includes the coastal areas of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and West Bengal. In these places, cyclone is common because it is in a cyclone prone area. That is the states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and West Bengal. Only few cyclones develop in the Arabian Sea. So that is in the Arabian Sea. That's why there is no more effect for the western coastal area. Eastern coastal area is the most affected area from cyclones, not the west coast, because there is Bay of Bengal is more always cyclones develop in Bay of Bengal, not in Arabian Sea. Only sometimes few cyclones will occur in the Arabian Sea. Tropical cyclones occur mainly in India during the northeast monsoon season. Remember, not in southeast west monsoon season, because southwest monsoon will blow from the Arabian Sea, but this is from the Bay of Bengal. That's why tropical cyclones occur mainly in India during the northeast monsoon season. Northeast monsoon season, remember. October and November are known for severe cyclones. The month of October and November, here we experience this type of cyclones because of the reason, the place that during that period that is called as the northeast monsoon season. Few cyclones occur in the month of May and June. Not only in the month of November and October, in the month of May and June also, India, country like India experiences cyclones. Now, preventive measures. So, what are the preventive measures can be taken to control the cyclones? Cyclones are natural phenomena, not created by man. It is not man-made. It is naturally occurring. So it is called as a natural phenomenon. We cannot prevent them. We cannot stop it. Earlier itself I told that it cannot be prevented. It cannot be stopped. But what are the measures we can take to control as well as to protect the life of the people as well as the property of the people? People can pay heed to the warnings. How? The people can pay heed means pay their attention to the information given by the weather department. That's why if we give collecting information from the weather department, then it is possible protecting ourselves from the cyclones. So the weather department first itself gives knowledge about the cyclones, about heavy rain, everything. Precautionary method, first itself the government will declare sometimes holiday, and even for the fisher people not to go for the fishing. So all these precautionary methods should be followed. Those who are not following, surely they will face some problems. That's why that is first thing we have to do here. We cannot control cyclone, but we can protect our life from cyclones. How? By giving utmost importance for the information given by the weather department or the other departments. They should keep in touch with the radio. The people always keep their touch with the radio, television and other communicative lines. Now, no need of watching TV or the radio. Through the mobile itself, we will get the information. So, immediately we have to be alert related to that natural disaster. Temporary shelters should be provided during cyclone. Shifting the place, that is from that place to another area. That is only for the temporary purpose, not for the permanent base. Only for the temporary, that shelters can be shifted from one place to another place. That can be done. Next, cyclone proof structures can be constructed. In that, constructing such a cyclone proof, then we protect protect the life of the people and even their properties also. Mangrove forest and other deep-rooted trees can be grown along the coastal line to check the impact of cyclonic winds and the soil erosion. So that is important. The shrubs and other small plants, if we are growing more and more, so that can be controlled water cyclones. That's why here, in order to control cyclones, what type of forest should be encouraged? Mangrove forest. So mangrove forest and other deep-rooted trees, deep-rooted trees can be grown along the coastal line. Because east coastal line is very dangerous, not only east, west also. That's why in that coastal region, if you are growing the mangrove forest plants, then it can be controlled. So to check the impact of cyclonic winds and the soil erosion. Even it helps in controlling the soil erosion. So second one, floods. Flood refer to the inundation of land by river water. So whenever flood occurs, the land also covered by the river. So there is no difference between land and the river, or the land and other whatever water, or the sea or the ocean. There will be same. We can see land also looks like a river. So that's why flood. Then what do you mean by flood? Flood refer to the inundation of land by river water. So land is covered by the river water completely. So that is called as a flood. It is recurring disaster in India. It is what? Not occurring repeatedly, occurring again and again, one or the other day in India. That's why it is called as a recurring disaster in India. Every year in the month of June or in the month of July, August, September, India experiences the same thing, flood either in the northern part of India or in the southern part of India or the western or the eastern part of any one area of the part of India will be affected by the natural disaster called as floods. One part of the country or the other has to face floods almost every year. Every year India experiences the floods. Then what are the important causes for floods? So let us discuss about the causes. First one, floods are caused by both natural and man-made factors. That is always the first and foremost reason is natural reason and man-made reason. The natural factors include heavy rainfall. First one is heavy rainfall. Second one, melting of snow. That also very dangerous because of the increase in temperature. It affects the northern parts of India, especially that is covered by snow. So the snow started to melting. As a result, there is a flow of water. Next, tropical cyclones, cloud burst, blockage of the free flow of river water, and silting river beds. The river beds filled with the wastages. So all this leads to the natural cause for water flood. So which are the main natural factors that include natural factors for flood? First one is heavy rainfall, melting of snow, tropical cyclones, cloud burst, blockage of the free flow of river. If it is blocked by someone, then one or the other day the river will teach lesson to us. That's why we should not block the river water. Then one more is silting. So all this garbage or wastage, everything is that is concentrated in the river bed also leads one or the other day flood. The man-made causes. Then which are the man-made causes for a flood? Deforestation, faulty irrigation system, because you know that India is agricultural land. So here no rain is agricultural sector is completely depending on rainwater. Sometimes heavy rain, sometimes no rain. So whenever there is no rain, the people depending on irrigation. So the irrigation system, it is in a systematic way, then it won't affect the nature. If it is a faulty, not in a systematic way, then it creates problem. So that leads to floods. Then deforestation, that is what, cutting the trees, continuously cutting the tree. As a result, there is imbalance in the economy. Increase in temperature, imbalance in the economy, final result, that is nothing but flood. Next, breaching of barrages. So breaking the barrage constructed in the rivers. So that is one more reason. And rapid urbanization. So you know that in the name of urbanization, in the name of industrialization, many villages are turned into cities. So as a result, it leads to what? It leads to the flood. So that is one more reason. What are the effects of floods? Floods causes loss of life and property. That very common. Everyone know about that. First, there is a great loss of life as well as the property. Next, damage to crops, vegetation, etc. If there is no crops, no vegetation, just imagine our life. So because of the flood, there is a damage of crops and vegetation. As a result, there is an increase in price for all the vegetation, vegetables, crop, whatever grains, everything. Life become very costly because of flood. Next, breakdown of communication and power system. Totally there is a spoil or there is a breakdown of communication system. There is no communication for 1 day, 2 days, sometimes more than 1 month because of the cyclones or the floods, and also power system. That is also affects economic development of the country. Not only economic development of the country, the life of the people become very difficult. Next, dislocation of transport system. So transport system completely changed from one place. Total dislocation, not locating in one place. That is what locating the transport system. If it is, there is a disconnection. So dislocation of the transport system because of the flood. Next, soil erosion, disruption of essential services, etc. So all these are considered as the effects of a flood. Flood causes loss of life and property, damage to crops, vegetation, breakdown of communication and power system, dislocation of transport system, and soil erosion, disruption of essential services, etc. Next, flood prone areas. Which are the areas are called as a flood prone areas? In which area floods are more or occurring every year? The Ganga and the Brahmaputra river basin. Ganga and Brahmaputra river basin, they cover a part of the states like Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal and Assam. In these places, this flood is very common. Next, the Satluj, the Beas, the Ravi, the Chenab river basin. Next, they include the states like Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. The Satluj, the Beas, the Ravi, the Chenab, that covers the areas of northern part of India like Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Next, in peninsular India, the deltaic areas of river basins, that is deltaic regions of Mahanadi, Godavari, river Krishna and river Kaveri, and these includes the states like Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So in these places, that flood is very common mainly because of this. And the lower parts of Narmada and Tapi river basin, that is Gujarat. In peninsular India, floods are occasional. They are due to sudden heavy rainfall. In South India, the floods always, that is occasional. If there is a heavy rainfall, then only South India is affected by these flood, otherwise no flood. But in these places, that is mainly because of the river basins, the places like Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and the place like Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Tamil Nadu, and in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat. In all these places, the flood is common mainly because of the river basin. South India or the peninsular India is not so affected by the floods, because if there is a heavy rain, then only there will be flood. Otherwise, there is no fear of a flood in South India. Flood control measure. Then how could we control flood? Afforestation, that is important. So many times we spoke about afforestation. Afforestation in the catchment area, which helps in the reduction of runoff. So where there is a place that is very close to the river, so if there is that area is called as the catchment area of a flood. So the repeatedly occurs flood in that particular area. So if we give utmost importance for afforestation, that is formation of forest. Formation of forest, planting more and more trees, growing more and more trees, plants, then only we can stop a flood, because plants or the trees only having the power to control the floods, no other. That's why we have to give utmost importance for the afforestation. Next, construction of dams across the rivers and storing of water in reservoirs. So constructing the dam and excess water should be stored in a reservoir. So then only we can protect the areas from the flood. It reduces the volume of water. What is the use of these dams? It reduces the volume of water and helps to provide water for irrigation. Whatever stored water that could be used for water could be used for the irrigation purpose, for the agricultural land. Construction of embankments for protection against inundation of the inhabited areas and agricultural land. Constructing barrages, constructing walls to restrict, to protect that area from the floods. So then we can protect that area from these floods by constructing the embankments. Flood forecasting and early warnings, that is important. Always we have to keep information, we have to get the day-to-day information about the weather condition, whether what happens very next day or that day. If we collect information about that, then surely it helps immediately the shifting of people from that place to another place for temporary. So we can protect the lives as well as the property. This is essential for taking timely action to prevent loss of human life, livestock and property. So timely action should be taken with the help of the weather department. Immediately we can protect the life of the people, life of the livestock and even the property of the people. So in this way we can control flood by following these measures. So this much about the first cyclones, and next we learnt about the floods. So next third one is landslides. So what is this landslides? So recently I told just now, that is they are experienced, that is the districts like Kodagu and Dakshina Kannada greatly experienced with the natural disaster called as landslides. The sliding of land mass along steep slopes of hills or mountains is called landslides. It's an important question. What is landslides? Landslides is a sliding of land. Sliding, you know that. What is sliding? So, sliding of land mass. Not only the small portion land, that is the total amount of land, that is well more, that whatever including mountains, trees, houses, properties, everything is taken away along with these slides. So that is sliding of land mass along steep slopes, because you know that some people will dig the land, dig the caves and dig some of the high mountain area and construct their house. So one or the other day, that is very dangerous, one or the other day, because of that they will face the trouble in their future. The same here, sliding of land mass along with the steep slopes of hills or the mountains is called as landslides. So land along with the mountains or the hills will take away. So these mountains or the hills fall on the lands and it will be taken together away. That is called as a landslides. Here the sliding of land mass along steep slopes of hills or mountains is called landslides. It involves downward sliding or falling of a mass of soil. It is nothing but falling of a mass of soil. Not a little amount, it is more. So there is a mass, that is why it is called as a mass. Mass falling of soil, mass falling of rocks and debris, the mixture of rock and the soil or the combination of these under the force of gravity. So there is a mass falling down of hills, mountains, land, then rocks or the soil and the rocks mixture or only the rocks or only the soil. So that together it is called as a landslides. That happens mainly because of the force of gravity. Then what are the causes? What are the main causes for landslides? Understood what is landslides? Sliding of land mass along steep slopes of hills or the mountains is called as a landslides. Then what are the important causes for landslides? For landslides, here two causes, one is natural cause and one more is man-made causes. So both natural and human-induced forces causes landslides. Natural forces. So which are the natural forces are responsible for the landslides? Under cutting of the slope as in sea wave, erosion of a sea cliff, earthquakes and the heavy rainfall. So here under cutting of the slope as in sea wave. So cutting roads, that is to protect these slopes as in sea wave, erosion of a sea cliff and earthquakes and heavy rainfall. So heavy rainfall in Kodagu and one more place because of heavy rainfall. So landslides are occurred. That's why very dangerous this one, very rainfall, even the earthquakes. So it opens and everything is go. And along with the earthquake and even these sea waves are very dangerous. So that is first cause. Next, human forces, deforestation, cutting trees, continuously cutting trees and destructing the forest, destruction of forest because of deforestation. Next, construction of roads. In the name of constructing the roads, destructing the forest. That is one more reason. Next, railway lines. You know that where you can see these railway lines in the hilly areas, in the mountain areas. So all these lands are used for the road, construction of roads or construction of railways and even for the dams and reservoirs, hydropower projects, about mining, quarrying, that is extracting. So all these leads to the what? Landslides. So the earth will lose its whatever power because of that. Here always the natural cause, people will face a natural disaster called landslides. So man-made and the natural. The man-made reasons are deforestation, construction of roads, railway lines, dams and reservoirs, hydropower projects, mining and quarrying. So all these are responsible for the landslides. Then what are the effects of landslides? Landslides are destructive natural disasters. It is very, very destructive one. Because of that, sometimes whoever missed that people, whoever affected by these landslides, sometimes we won't get their even body also. It was missing because it will take away along with the mass, along with the soil, rocks, everything. So in this way, finding the property or finding the human being, whatever, even sometime, even the place will be missed. Total place or the district will be missed because of the landslides. Major effects are blocking of roads. First one, blocking of roads, blocking of railway lines, burying of human settlements and all the human settlements, residents, property, everything is buried under the ground and even the vegetation, and as a result there is a loss of life and property. The most important destruction is it will bury everything under the land. As a result, there is a great loss of life as well as the property. Next, roads blocking is a very common problem. For 8 days, for 1 month or for 2 months, sometimes for 6 months, there is a complete block of a road. So that leads to the road blocking, that the landslides leads to the road blocking. Next, distribution of landslides. In India, landslides occur very often in hilly states like Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and in northeastern states. So in these places it is common, that is in the places hilly regions of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and northeastern states. These landslides are common. Printed, that is preventive measures. What are the preventive measures we can take to protect the people's life as well as properties from the landslides? First one, slope reduction, reducing the slopes. Prevention of rock falls along highways and other slopes. So prevention of falling rocks first itself. Sometimes the people come to know first itself, so that mountain is very dangerous or hill is very dangerous or the rock is very dangerous. First itself, if the people take the steps, then we can protect our life from the landslides. So slope reduction, prevention of rock falls along the highways and other slopes. Avoiding of mining. Mining is very dangerous. Because of mining and extraction, here the results, that is mining and quarrying means extracting minerals from the ground. So all these results in water landslides. So that we have to stop. And here avoiding of mining and quarrying activities near the steep slopes, especially in steep slopes, and human settlements and buildings. Mining and quarrying, extracting minerals near the steep slopes as well as near the human settlements. The area where human residence is residential area, in that area we have to avoid mining activities and quarrying activities. That is one method to prevent landslides. There should be massive reforestation, etc. steps to reduce the occurrence of the landslides. Reforestation, more and more giving importance for the afforestation. Wherever the forest is destructed, again they are constructing or formation of forest, reforestation or the afforestation. By this, landslides can be controlled. Next, coastal erosion. Fourth problem is the natural disaster is the coastal erosion. Sea waves strike the coast with a great force. Sea waves strike the coast with a great force. This constant process leads to erosion of coast. As a result, we can see erosion in the coast, that is called as coastal erosion or the coastal erosion. Hence, coastal erosion is the process of wearing away and removal of materials along the coastline by wave action. So very dangerous. Whenever you are standing near the sea coast, what happens? You know that you can experience near the beach, isn't it? Sometimes there is a slow waves, sometimes heavy waves. So heavy waves are very dangerous. Tidal, that is high tides and the low tides. Low tides are not so dangerous. High tides are very dangerous. So that also you learned in 8th standard. So then what are the causes and distribution? What are the causes for this sea coastal erosion and where it is distributed? Coastal erosion is mostly caused by sea waves and ocean currents. That is the movement of ocean water, that is ocean currents. In India, the causes are first one monsoon winds, second one tropical cyclones, and third one is tsunamis. So let us discuss about in detail. First, that is monsoon winds. The south-west monsoon winds causes intensive coastal erosion along the west coast of India. South-west monsoon is one important reason for the south-west coastal erosion. During this season, the coasts of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu are largely affected by coastal erosion. South-west monsoon or rainy season, during rainy season or during monsoon rainy season, it affects these greatly affects the west coast of India. Whichever the states are there in the west coast, all these states greatly affected by this. Next, tropical cyclones are destructive and mostly occur during the northeast monsoon. The first one, monsoon winds during southwest monsoon. Second one, tropical cyclones that occurs during destructive mostly during the period of northeast monsoon season. That is occurs over the Bay of Bengal. They cause serious coastal erosion along the east coast of India. Southwest affects the south, west affects the western coast of India, and northeast it affects the eastern coast of India. So including the coastal areas of Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Tsunami, that also you learned in detail in 8th standard. What is tsunami? So tsunamis are large waves generated by earthquakes. Large waves that generated because of earthquakes. The coastal erosion occurs due to tsunamis in India. Andaman Nicobar Islands and east coast of India have been affected by tsunamis. Andaman, Nicobar and the east coast of India is greatly affected by tsunami. Tsunami is very dangerous. With the high tides it will cover almost all the areas. So it is very dangerous here. It occurs mainly because of the earthquakes that is inside the water or inside the ocean or inside the sea. So that is the causes and distribution of these distribution of coastal erosions. Human interference also result in a coastal region. Not only the natural, human interference also responsible here. Removal of sand, then construction breakwater for the main causes. One is sand, extracting sand or removal of sand, and also construction of water, breakwater. Here is also one more reason. Now effects. What are the effects of coastal erosion? Coastal erosion is one of the natural disasters. Coastal areas including trees and buildings can be washed away. Coastal areas, the houses of coastal areas, the trees of coastal areas, everything will be washed away because of coastal erosion. The roads, railway lines, bridges, etc. along the coast can be damaged. So whenever the road line or the road transport, railway lines as well as bridges are very close to the waves, this sea or the coastal area, such roads as well as railways can be washed away along with the erosion. Coastal areas can remain flooded over a long period of time, requiring resettlement of people. So here resettlement of people. Coastal areas can remain flooded, sometimes most for 15 days or more than 15 days. That area is flooded with water, flooded with the sea erosion or coastal erosion. As a result, resettlement of these people is very difficult. That is a great challenge in front of the government. So coastal areas can remain flooded over a long period of time, requiring resettlement of the people. Once all the human residents or the human settlement will be washed away, so once again they need the resettlement of human settlements. Now what are the preventive measures to control the coastal erosions? Constructing retention walls, groins and breakwater to protect the coastal areas from wave erosion. The walls, constructing the walls or constructing the retention walls, bridges, all these useful for protecting the coastal area from erosion. Restrict sand mining in the coastal areas and planting of trees along the coast to stabilize the coastal dunes. So in order to protect the coastal areas, here importance should be given to grow more trees, then only it can be prevented. Now earthquakes. This as you learned once in the 8th standard. So once again about earthquake. An earthquake is a violent vibration in the earth's crust. A violent vibration inside the earth crust is called as earthquakes. It is one of the worst natural hazards which often results in disasters. It is one of the worst natural disaster and it resulted in a great destruction. Causes. Earthquake occur due to several causes such as plate movements. Plate movements means inside the earth, that you learned in detail about earthquake in a standard. Once again in a brief about earthquakes, plate movements, volcanic eruption, faulting and folding, landslides, collapse of underground cave roofs, then hydrostatic pressure of man-made water bodies like reservoirs, etc. So all these are main reason for the earthquakes. In India, most of the earthquakes that have occurred earlier were due to the plate movement. So especially movement in the, because of the temperature variation in the atmosphere or the weather is responsible for that. So there is a movement in the plate that results in the earthquake. So that is the main reason, and other reasons you have already explained what are the main causes. Then what are the effects? Let's see what are the effects of earthquakes. The disastrous effect of earthquakes are cracking of ground surface, totally cracking of ground surface, damage and destruction of buildings, totally damage and destruction of buildings, then buildings, then rails, roads, power lines, telecom lines, bridges, dams, factories, loss of human and animal lives and property. So this is a very easy concept. Naturally you know about everything about this, what happens because of earthquake. So you can write, you can easily remember this. So here cracking of ground surface, damage and destruction of buildings, rails, roads, power lines, telecom lines, bridges, dams, factories, loss of human and animal life. That is the one effect. Next, the other effects are fires, landslides, disturbance in groundwater level. So, totally changes in the course of the groundwater level because of this earthquake. Next, blockage and diversion of river courses. Blockage or complete change in the course of the river because of the earthquake. Next, destruction of forest due to the fire. So it creates fire. As a result, because of the fire, there is a destruction of a forest. So these are effects of earthquake. Now distribution. There are three major earthquake zones in India. First one, the Himalayan zone, the Indo-Gangetic zone and the Peninsular zone. So let us discuss about three zones of earthquake one by one. First one, the Himalayan zone. The zone includes the states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The places that includes, the states that includes, that is Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar comes under Himalayan zone. It is a zone of maximum intensity. It is a place of maximum intensity. Which zone is the place of maximum intensity of earthquake in India? The Himalayan zone. Remember, the Himalayan zone. The earthquakes in this zone are basically due to plate tectonics, that is Chamoli and Uttarkashi. That is, remember, maximum intensity area. Next, the Indo-Gangetic zone. It lies to the south of the Himalayas. It comprises of Rajasthan, plains of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. This zone is called the zone of moderative intensity. So moderate, not more, not less, moderate. So which zone is under moderate intensity? The Indo-Gangetic zone. Which are the states? States like Rajasthan, plains of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. Next, third one, the Peninsular zone. It includes the islands of Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar. One more is Rann of Kutch, Gujarat, that is in Gujarat. So peninsular India had been considered as a stable landmass. It has considered as a stable landmass. Only few earthquakes have been occurred in this zone mostly in recent years. Therefore, it is known as zone of minimum intensity. So, peninsular zone is famously called as zone of minimum intensity. Why? Because the chances of earthquake is very less in these places, and in recent years there is no earthquakes in these places. That's why this is called as a zone of minimum intensity. So, the places like Andaman and Nicobar Island, Lakshadweep Island, and one more is Kutch. In these places we can see the third zone, that is the peninsular zone. So, earthquake is divided into three zones. First one is Himalayan zone, second one is Indo-Gangetic zone, third one is peninsular zone. First comes high, second comes moderate, last comes minimum. Next, precautionary measures. What are the precautionary measures have taken to control these? First one, avoid the human settlements in earthquake prone zones. First and foremost, we have to avoid the establishment of human settlements in earthquake prone areas, earthquake zone areas. Second one, follow earthquake resistant designs for the construction of buildings. So there is a new development, so that we have to follow. So if you are following that, then we can prevent the earthquakes. Follow earthquake resistant designs. That is important. Next, use building materials of high quality and avoid high-rise buildings. The material that is used for the construction of buildings should be high quality, and the floors also should be in a restricted floors, not many floors. So that also very dangerous. Next, restrict digging of deep wells for groundwater. That also dangerous. Digging deep ground for the groundwater. So, or the wells, that is we have to avoid. Restrict urban growth in the hilly areas with a high seismic vulnerability. So, a high seismic area, in that we have to avoid construction of houses or the urbans, especially in the hilly areas. Avoid the construction of large dams and reservoirs. So, that also affects the natural development of the environment. That's why we have to avoid that. Stop deforestation and heavy quarrying activities. We have to stop deforestation, support afforestation, and to stop mining or extracting minerals quarrying. Besides, post-disaster measures after earthquakes are also essential. That is relief, recovery, rehabilitation. If whatever measures followed, but the earthquake is occurred, then what? Then after that, what we have to do? We have to provide relief, recovery from that earthquake, and also from the provide rehabilitation center to the people, those who lost their properties or the settlements. So this is a map. So you have to learn this map, practice this map, all the places you have to learn to locate. So after completing the lesson, I will go through the maps one by one. That is during revision. So open the map, open your book and go through the map, because I have given as a project activity also for your understanding. So practice it properly, learn properly. So after the revision, I will give the test related to the maps also. So learn the maps. Learn the maps. So related to the Indian cyclones and earthquake zones. Here given, if it is dot, earthquake centers, and here triangle shape cyclone areas. So go through the map and learn the map properly. So this much about this lesson, that is natural disasters.